Hello, welcome to Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. This is Brandon. I am your host. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. A couple things for you today. One, sorry about yesterday, but I mentioned that I was doing the Jason McKenzie interview, I think on 5:30, and it's actually going to be on 6/6. So anybody who had blocked off time for this evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I just gave you back an hour. Uh, Sorry about that. Um, you know, also got a couple of my streams crossed yesterday too when I was doing the uploading the podcast, and I had to re-upload it. So sorry about some of those technical difficulties. Moving onward, we like I mentioned yesterday, a couple people, Jeremy, Todd, and Meg, my wife, had mentioned to say, hey, why don't you talk a little bit more about what you put in your book on your podcast, because they think it's pretty interesting stuff. And, when you live through something, you just generally think, hey, man, I just lived through it. That's just how it was. Not that interesting to me. I just happened to be there. Um, but you know what? So I will share a little bit of it, and I think it's kind of interesting myself, just kind of where we are in the world today. And I'm going to start off a little bit with this part is not in the book, but I don't know about anybody here who's ever taken a course, didn't do so well in it, and took it again, and they knew everything. This happened to me, and I think it was algebra, 7th grade. I wasn't the best student. I didn't really care too much for what was being taught to me. I didn't see the reason in sitting in the class and having a teacher kind of drone on and tell me whatever. It was literally, I literally felt like I was in Charlie Brown. Womp 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 womp. That was what I heard. Uh, so therefore, ergo, I had gotten a really bad grade. I thought I'd failed the algebra class in 7th grade, and so I was given the opportunity to choose my classes for the next year, and I went ahead and I chose. Excuse me, just one sec. I like to get a sip of that coffee while it's still warm. Uh, so I went ahead and I chose to take algebra again. I was like, listen, man, it's not cool to fail the class and spend all the time and not know it. So I went ahead and I took it again the next year, and I think that was that the first year of high school. That doesn't sound right. Anyways, I went and I took it the next year, and what was crazy was that I knew all the material. It was like it was so easy. I was like, wow, how did I botch this up so bad or whatever? But I think that a lot of us have probably been in a similar situation where we hear all this information, we hear it, we hear it, we hear it, we hear it, we just don't apply it, and we don't apply it, and we don't apply it, and we don't apply it, and you make no progress. Um, or simply just because you're not interested, you hear it, you're taking in the information, you understand at the time, and you're just not as concerned with applying the information because you don't see the immediate use of application. So where's he going with this? So, so in that regard, in the book, I talk about kind of being raised by a quote unquote hippie mother, and for those of you that didn't grow up with one or aren't totally familiar with how that may work, it's just a lot of you would hear a lot of talk about. I heard a lot of talk, anyways, about universal truths, positive energy. Don't let negative things get in your way. Uh, all this stuff that all this stuff that we're seeing such a surge on today, and for me, it's funny because it's like 40 years in the making, and it's finally all kind of congealing for me. I'm like, oh, I grew up, I know all this information. Now it's like, all right, it's really easy for me to put it into place and play because I grew up this way. It's like, wow, uh, you know, don't get hung up in the negatives. Oh, okay, yeah, dude, I know that. And now let's just go ahead and do that now because, I spent the past 20 years getting caught up in, some of these negatives and whatnot. And I, I, I inadvertently, I already integrate, I already know, within me kind of what I'm supposed to do, and the right ways or ways for me to approach certain processes. And I just think it's funny that again you go through and I heard all these things growing up. I just didn't have an immediate application. I was probably too busy living in the present, the now, where a lot of people say we don't spend enough time in. And so I think I spent the past like maybe 10 years focused so hard on tomorrow. What do I need to do tomorrow? What do I need to do today to be better tomorrow? And just so focused on that too, without taking any time to live in the present. And I know it's kind of rambly over here, but the real gist of this is that a lot of this information you probably already heard. You just haven't found the right application for it. I currently have found the right application for it. It's just kind of my life right now. And I grew up that way. And it's really interesting too. Like I'm speaking to this gentleman, Mike Miriam, who wrote a book called Closer Than You Think that I'll be interviewing him shortly for the podcast. And he speaks of this appreciative inquiry, and I'm going to go ahead and read off a little bit of that. And there's a free course for it. Go check it out. It's just started on Coursera. It's part of a what is this? It's part of a full specialization. I'm just pulling one course out of it. And it says, I'm just going to read the lines off. Is what is appreciative inquiry and why do I care? What is it? It's week one. Week one defines what appreciative inquiry is and frames it among a growing trend of quote-unquote strength-based approaches to human development and organization change. This strength-based perspective viewed in contrast with deficit-based change, which is reported to be successful less than 30% of the time. That's the focus on the weaknesses and make them your strengths. The unintended consequences of deficit or problem-based change approaches are discussed in contrast with a focus on using strengths to create shared positive images of future possibilities that underlie the AI theory and method. And kind of what I took the first week, and one of the things that they talk about in there is that when you focus on the positive possibilities and outcomes, you are more likely to achieve them. Versus if you focus on what the problems are, the negatives, if you focus on the negatives and how to eradicate them, you're going to spend more time kind of spinning your wheels than you are going to actually achieve, what those positive outcomes are. So, again, it's kind of all just coming together. I grew up in a very similar light and manner, which is, to me, I'm excited that I get to, kind of dive into something that I'm familiar with. I don't know it all. And I can learn more and expand on what I've already been taught. So pretty excited about that. Thought I'd share that with you guys. Hope again that you enjoyed your Memorial Day week. Sorry for a couple of the snafus on the uploads of the podcast. Still working out all the kinks. Gonna be on Facebook Live tomorrow night, which will be 5:31 May 31st. I'm getting ready for I've got a meeting up in Cincy. Going to go meet up with a whole bunch of other podcasters, aspiring, colleagues that are just really, excited about life and what they're doing and taking some of their passions and moving forward. So I'm really looking forward to that. Up in Cincinnati, going to be up there on the 9th and the 10th of June. The week after, we're going to be doing a biathlon in Asheville. Going to do, it's going to be swimming in the Biltmore Lake. I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, if you go back a year, I couldn't even, even like 8, 9, 10 months ago, what is it, like November of 2016, I couldn't even swim a couple laps without needing to feel like I was dying. So I'm just really excited to be where I am today and doing all the things that I'm doing. If you haven't gotten the ebook, which you're going to find more about, kind of how I grew up, origin stories and where we are today, where we're going, where we hope to be, where we're going to be in the future. go grab that at fatherhoodfortherestofus.com. And, as usual, the plugs, you got to put them out there. You hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Brandon G. Hanley. Looking forward to hearing from you. And look, if that's not your thing, if going on to those social medias areas is not what you're about, just send me an email. All right, send me an email at brandon@fatherhoodfortherestofus.com. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear how we might be able to serve you further with this show. And hey, enjoy the rest of your day.